And as some schools approach the start of a new grading period, parents may have the option to decide whether or not to have their children go back in for in-person instruction. We spoke with Aransas County ISD's interim superintendent this morning on First Edition about the second chance for parents to switch the type of learning for their children. Superintendent Rose Tran says the district posted on their Facebook page to remind parents to report that change before the start of the new grading period.
Where we set the cutoff for parents to note their request for change 2 weeks prior to the start of the next 9 weeks, to allow our principals and campus administrators to plan for the campus management of those students as we start possibly bringing back more children back to our campuses.
Superintendent Tran also says that students that are currently in face-to-face instruction do have the option to go back to virtual learning if that's something that they prefer.